This is Deborah, and she has hopefully everyone has her on the big screen. Deborah Kapp has a Bachelor of Fine Arts and a Bachelor of Education. She's a retired dance and French teacher from the Thames Valley District School Board, more specifically at the Lester B. Pearson School for the Arts since 1990. Deborah is a graduate of the York University Faculty of Dance, developed the dance program for Lester B. Pearson School of the Arts. Deborah is a curriculum writer for the Thames Valley District School Board, the Ministry of Education, and Brock University. She regularly presents workshops for teachers on teaching creative movement in the classroom setting. Currently, Deborah is an instructor at Brock University's Faculty of Education, teaching drama and dance education to second-year teacher candidates. Deborah is also a producer and artistic director of Art Harvest, an annual showcase of dance education programs from Southwestern Ontario. She is co-creator of Action Pak d'Action. Apologize for my accent. Jocelyn, especially.
Jocelyn's for sure laughing at you.
A creative movement resource manual for teachers teaching dance in the school setting, which we will explore this evening. So that's what we're learning about is Action Pak d'Action. Thank you for joining us, Deb, to share this incredible resource and teaching method. And I'll
Thank you. Thanks for having me. So yeah, let's go to this whole idea of the Action Pak d'Action. I created it with two other colleagues, Alison Campbell and Susan Bailey, and we started teaching dance in the school before it was even in the curriculum, because we started many years ago and really wanted to give the kids a movement vocabulary. So a way of using movement to express their thoughts, ideas, and feelings. And when the curriculum came out, and I was part of some of the work in bringing in the art curriculum specifically for dance, and then also implementing it in the province, that was the focus, that dance in the schools is about creation, not imitation. So you're not learning a bunch of steps and copying them. You are creating your own movement and your own movement vocabulary. So anybody, anyone can use dance to express themselves through movement. It's a way of using dance as a language. And so what we discovered was, using Laban's theory and principles of movement, we came up with about 70 different creative action words and put them together with graphics, interesting graphics. So you can see a couple right there. They're big enough to hang on to put on the floor, to work with. But the main focus of them is to use them to create a vocabulary. And that way, students can demonstrate their learning through movement. So it's a twofold thing in the schools. You want to use dance to teach certain subjects, but you also want them to use dance to demonstrate what they know. So as we go through some of the activities, and then later in the workshop, when I deal with integrating curriculum with dance and dance with curriculum, you'll see a little bit more what I'm talking about. So I want us to play with a lot of this. So I hope that you'll be willing to get off your chairs, whatever space that you have. So I'm going to move mine, and I'm going to go into the space behind me. Hold on, gotta get rid of that phone. And what I want you to do is I want you to move through the space. I'm going to put some music on. When I stop the music, I want you to just hold a shape, any shape that you can make with your body, okay? And first we'll start with any shape, and then I'm going to direct you whether there's a different level to it or a different type of shape to it. If you have questions along the way, just put them in the chat, and Laura is going to monitor the chat, and she'll let me know. She'll speak up and say, here's the question. That way I don't have to come back and forth to the computer, okay? Or you can just start talking and I will answer your question whenever. So I'm going to put the music on. I hope you can hear that. And I just want you to move around. And when I stop, can you take any shape that you choose with your body? And let's go again. Just use the space, go through the door, back in the door, get low to the ground, get high. And now I want to see a very high shape when you finish. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's do it again. Let's try a medium shape. Beautiful. Here we go. And try something very low. We may not see you. Try something very low this time. Freeze in a low shape. Awesome. Awesome. Here we go. Let's do this again. And I want you to think while you're moving, because when you stop, I want you to stop in a symmetrical shape. When the music stops, I want you to freeze in a symmetrical shape. Are you ready? Let's see your symmetrical shape. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, let's go again. And this time when you stop, I want you to stop in an asymmetrical shape. So think about it. Here we go. Yeah, gorgeous. Okay, let's go again. And this time when you stop, I want you to stop in a curved shape. In a very curved shape. Nice. You're small, but I can see you. All right. Last time, let's move around. And when you stop, I want you to stop in an angular shape. Nice. Angular shape. Yeah. Beautiful. All right. Are there any questions in the meantime before I carry on? No, we're good? Good. Okay. So now we're going to stick with shapes, but we're going to play with this word melt. Okay. And I'm going to ask you to start in a high shape, and then I want to see you slowly melt into a low shape. All right. So take your high shape. Take your high shape, freeze. Here's the music. And now I want to see you slowly melt to a low shape. And freeze when you're done. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, let's try starting with a symmetrical shape. And then I want you to use that word melt and melt into an asymmetrical shape. Okay, you ready? So show me your symmetrical shape. Or if you're not comfortable, you don't have to have your camera on. Take the symmetrical shape. I'll turn the music on. And I want to see you melting into an asymmetrical shape. Very cool. And freeze when you're done. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, let's try the last one. Let's try starting in a curved shape and melt into an angular shape. Okay, so think about that for a minute. Here we go. Gorgeous. And freeze when you're done. Beautiful. Beautiful. So we're working with that word melt. Can anybody tell me the action of melt? How would you describe it? Think
Sinking.
about the elements of dance. Think about your tempo. Think about your energy. Your time, your energy, your space, your shape, and relationship. You can talk. You don't have to put it in the chat.
Sinking
Slow.
or slow,
Stay.
graceful.
Oozing. Slow motion.
Beautiful.
Indirect.
Careful.
A good one.
So there is a lot going on in just one word. And this is an action. The cards are in categories. These are actions that lower. So I'm going to give you another action that lowers, and I want you to try it. I just want you to play with it, see what you come up with, and then we'll talk about it. Drip. Now remember, we're not being a faucet that's dripping. We're looking at the action of drip. So think again about the time, the energy, the space. Okay, try drip. Go ahead, let's see what you come up with.
Did you freeze?
Awesome.
That's all I
Yeah,
got.
yeah. So what happens when you drip? What happens when you drip? What happens with that? What's that action? Mel?
It's like it's sustained and then it drops.
Right, so
like-
you're collecting all this energy, sustaining it, and releasing it. Yes,
Yeah.
awesome. Anyone else?
I think it's rhythmic
How so?
because it's got like the timing is like got a rhythm. So it's like
Right.
one
Da-da-da.
slow
Yeah.
and then sustained and then boom.
Yeah,
Right.
there's
can
like a quick action and then it's almost like a freeze.
Mm.
And then down.
And the
Just
mass,
at the end. Yeah.
and the
Mhm.
mass changes suddenly from
Oh yeah.
converging to boom. It
Right.
goes out. So the
Right,
mass
so you're talking about
alters.
the element of space there. Absolutely, absolutely.
It can
Yeah,
also be repetitive if you think about, I mean, even with the image that you've used, like that drippy faucet, right? That when you're staying in the hotel and it just won't stop. And it just keeps going and going and going. Yeah.
that's right. So again, here's another action that lowers. This one is sink. Sink. Try sink and see what you come up with. It's different.
It's a hard difference between melt and sink.
Are you asking me?
No, I'm just commenting, like those are very similar. For me, I wouldn't know what to do that's different.
Try it.
Maybe faster.
What happens when you sink as opposed to melt? Think about your elements. So what happened different from when you melted?
I think my melting was much slower.
Tempo is different, yeah?
Sinking feels heavier too.
Yeah.
Different quality to the movement.
It's like pulling
Yeah.
it down where melting was a little bit kind of soft.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
felt pulled down.
Okay,
I felt
and-
like with melting, my shape would change. You
Yeah.
know, like you melted a piece of chocolate,
Yeah.
your shape would change. But with sinking,
It
it was
does.
like I wanted to maintain the shape and just lower it.
Exactly. So you can play with these in that way, right?
Mhm.
These are all actions that lower, but there's such a fine difference between all of them and they relate completely to the elements of dance. Think about this one, fall.
Mm.
I
Quick.
would ask you to try it, but I want you to be careful. The kids don't care. They just go splat on the ground, right? But try fall in a way that you're safe. Yeah. Yeah. So what's the difference between fall and sink? Or fall and melt?
The speed, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, tempo.
Definitely.
And the energy too. Like it's just, it's swift. It's
Mhm.
you know,
It's fast, it's sudden.
yeah.
It's
Uh,
direct, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And again,
All of these things. Now, when you're dealing with primary kids, we're having fun with all these different ways of moving. But when you're working with older students and you're really exploring the elements of dance, these really get into the nitty-gritty of how you move and why you move and what the body can do, right? Okay, so what I want to show you is, I said to you that they're in different categories. And so now I'm going to show you a few cards from a different category. Those were actions that fall. These are actions that balance. So here's the word pause. How can you express in movement the word pause? Try
Freeze.
that. Awesome. Yeah. So, Glennis, were you going to say something? Or that was your pause. Beautiful. All right. How about this one? Perch.
Shoot.
These are all actions of balance. Perch. Yeah. Awesome. Oh, there she goes. Excellent. All right, let's try this one. Freeze. So, okay, let's just think for a minute. We've got pause and we've got freeze. Can you talk about the difference? Did it feel different when you did it?
I
You
felt
have to make different choices. You're nodding your head, Glennis. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Freeze is finite. You do it. Pause is sort of a slight break in an action that will continue. And it feels very different.
It does feel
Yeah.
different, doesn't it? Even though you would think maybe not so much, but it does. Yeah.
I also felt cold with freeze for some reason. I don't know if it was the image of the penguin.
Probably.
I was like, well.
It's
I
the
feel like-
season, Jocelyn.
So Mary
I'm
Jo
feeling
said,
for the
Has it freeze has like a beginning feel or an end feel?
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
so Mary Jo said in the chat that freeze is no time while pause is sustained.
Ah, yes. Yes.
It feels different to pause because I think you're going to move out of it.
Yeah.
To freeze, it's like, okay, I'm frozen. I don't know. And I was almost waiting for Deb to give us permission to release that freeze.
Mhm.
Whereas with pause, it was like I could pause, I could stop, and then I could start again, and then I could stop, and then I could start again. It felt more free somehow to choose my my timing and
So,
make those
There
choices.
seems to be no break. I mean, there's a slight break in an action that will continue with pause, whereas freeze, as Melanie was saying, you might freeze and drop. There's no drop in energy with pause. It's the energy is frozen. The energy is frozen for a second, but it will continue. Whereas in freeze, you may melt by the end of it.
So when you're choosing, like, because you're so articulate, and this would be when I'm working with grade 8s, for example, they
Mhm.
really come to these kinds of discussions. But when you're wanting to choose certain actions to portray certain emotions or ideas or thoughts, you can start to think how the choices that you make, if you want to finish something or make a point, you're going to choose freeze. If you want to engage in something, maybe you're reading a novel and there's some character that grows and changes and evolves, and then you're going to use pause as you move forward. So it's about choosing the actions that really get into the nitty-gritty of what you're abstracting from language or from a particular subject. Okay. All right, let's try this one. These are actions that grow. All right. So let's start with stretch. In the category of actions that grow, stretch. Yeah, awesome. Beautiful. Remember to think about different directions, different facings while you're playing with all of this, okay? What about this one? Open. Open. You can also think about just one body part as opposed to the whole body when you're playing with these. Yeah. Great. Okay, how about this one? This is an action that grows. Seep. Seep. So it's a different type of growing action. Beautiful. I love the pathways that I see you guys making. They're gorgeous. So great to work with dancers. Here's another one. Release. Release. Yeah, you can see the change in tempo right away and energy right away. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, last category for now. There are 11, I'm just showing you a few. This is an action that, these are actions that rise. Here's a couple of them. This one is surfacing. Surfacing. Ah, nice. Beautiful. All right, let's try this one. Breathe. Great. Yeah, gorgeous. Okay, you guys are doing amazing. Thank you very much. I want to show you a little video. I'm going to just show you a couple tonight. This one, so Laura's going to set that up for me. And this was in the time when the kids were in lockdown and nobody was at school. And my colleague Susan Bailey worked with a senior kindergarten child and just worked with some of the cards. So I just want you to, it's about 4 minutes long. And I just want you to watch her working in my living room and just watch, she's SK. So just see how she expresses some of these words that you've been working with too, okay?
Now we're going to explore actions that contract. And girls, actions that contract means
Laura, that's the second one. First one is November 5th. That's November 10. There we go. There's.
Can you see? Oh, that is so awesome. Can you seep down low? Can you seep with different parts of your body? Can you seep quickly? And can you seep slowly?
I love it. Good picture here.
Awesome job.
All right. I think that's yeah. Thank you. So you can see that there's a lot of expression just working with one word. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is fast forward once you've played with all the words and your students have played with all the words. The idea is then to create movement sequences. So you've started just with words, and now we're going into a sentence or a movement sequence. And I'm going to ask you to link 4 different words. I'll show you the 4 words, but I want you to decide what order they're going to be in. Doesn't have to be the order that I show it to you in. You choose the order, but I'll show you the 4 words. So this is one of the actions that grow. This is expand, look, settle, and creep. So you're going to take those 4 and you're going to link them together to create your own movement sequence. Creep, settle, look, and expand. If we were together, I could put them on the floor and you'd see them, but you'll have to remember those 4. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes and I want you to just create your own sequence with those 4. Maybe I'll put on some background music here. Beautiful. Can we show these? Can we share these, Laura? Like, I can't, I guess they'd have to turn their microphone on for me to see them.
I'll put them on gallery. There you
Okay.
go. I've got them on gallery. Go for it.
I don't.
Oh,
Hang on.
Deb, you go to the view and then just push view and click on gallery.
There you are.
There you go.
Beautiful.
Now you can see us.
Okay. So let's choose a starting position. Let's choose a body shape that will lead you into your first action and then freeze into a different ending shape after your final action. Okay, is everyone ready? Ready? When the music starts, you can start and freeze when you're done. Beautiful. Wow, beautiful. So is there anyone willing to show theirs just on your own? Bobby?
Come on, Bobby.
You'd think Bobby would be willing to show. Is that a yes or a no? She's laughing. I can't hear you.
I'll show-
I need a breather.
Okay, Melanie, will you show yours?
Sure.
Come on.
Do you think it's okay?
Absolutely.
Do you
So
believe in me, Deb?
put it on
Of course.
yours on speaker. Put yours on speaker.
Mine?
Mine?
Melanie's, yeah. Put
Melanie, you have to do speaker view so we can see you only.
Oh, okay. Is that
Now,
me?
I'm going to ask all of you a question when she's done. All right? So we'll watch her piece and then I'm going to ask you a question when she's done.
Yep.
All right, you ready? Take your starting position. Here we go. Sorry.
Say something, Melanie, so we can turn.
Awesome, thank you. So my question to you is, and don't answer, Melanie, my question to you is, what was that dance about? Yes, Jocelyn.
I felt like she was like an animal or like on a safari, kind of like hunting for her food or something like that. And then she kind of saw it, she had it, and then she rested. I don't know.
Yeah, why not?
No wrong answers.
Exactly. Bobby?
I'm going to relate it to like a late night awakening of a child, half asleep, and then they see, you know, their mommy, and then they're like, okay, I saw you, I'm going back to sleep now.
Anyone else? Yes, Glennis?
I saw it as kind of an idea that starts to form in your head, whether you want it to or not. And it just grows and grows and grows and then settles and stays there, whether you want it to or not.
Excellent. Anyone else want to share their thoughts?
I saw curiosity, and then, you know, I don't know, there was like a settling of, okay, I understand, you know, of understanding or whatever, and not anymore.
Beautiful. So my point is that everybody had different sequences. You had 4 words that you started with. That's it.
We all move so differently.
When you see this movement phrase, it means something to us. Our movement communicates to us. Even if, I mean, Melanie probably just used the words in her head. I don't know. Sometimes you do come up with a story. Sometimes you just link the words. But it doesn't matter what's going on in her head and what she's imagining. We are reading her movement. And our movement is really important. And all of the subtle things that you're picking from those words, they mean something. And when kids see that, because it's sometimes the first time they've had an experience working with a creative action word, linking it, and then just playing with the words, but then they see, oh my gosh, I really read something into that. Young ones, old ones, they all do, of course, because we do that as humans, and they understand. So you can work starting with the words and move into storytelling and move into writing and expressing ideas in language, or you can start with picture books, novels, essays, whatever, and then choose from those words, how am I going to express that through movement? So you can go one way or the other. Okay. Now, if we were together in the same room, I would then join you. Yeah, Leslie?
Sorry, I have 2 questions. The first one is like, some kids in the room, actually, I would say many kids in the room would take like 3 seconds on each of those, and it's hardly enough time to like see what they're doing, let alone see a story. So when you're working with the kids with these cards, do you give them a time frame? How do you know, how do we get them to do, I'm not sure how long Melanie's, you know, going for
17 minutes.
No, not fatigue notes, but
I like to stretch it out.
we're just like, look, you know, and they're done, right? So how do you encourage that
Good
taking time
question.
with each
There's a couple things that happen. One is you can designate the space. You can tell them they have to fill the space, this particular area. And so you have to have a pathway. You have to explore all this space, all these corners. You can do it that way. Also, you'll find that kids are watching kids. So they may just work really quickly, but then they're going to look over there and see, oh, that person is doing a little bit more. Maybe I should too. There's a lot in the beginning of looking around, trying to see, you know, what works, what doesn't, what's acceptable. And so everything in the beginning is acceptable. If they do something really short, awesome. Why not? That's your time frame, right? And then the next time, your goal for them, for their next steps would be to expand. And you'll find that they will get very comfortable moving more. And also, I find that teachers don't realize that kids love to move because we're so used to seeing them in their spots. And given the opportunity, they won't stop. So I haven't found that that's a problem. But if you do find it's a problem, yeah, I would use those too. Mel.
Well, I just had a little suggestion too for Leslie, because I've run into that even with 9s and 10s when you're doing creative movement or any newer dancers really. And I will tell them that, like, I'll play, say, a 30-second piece of music, and I'll tell them that they have to move for the whole piece of music. And if they run out of movements, then they need to repeat them. So that's giving them a whole piece of music and letting them hear it ahead of time. Even sitting with their eyes closed, listening to the music, imaging. Probably the smaller, younger students wouldn't be able to do that, maybe. I think I did it when I was little, but.
Yeah, the younger ones, they can repeat. Absolutely, they can do that. And they can make a pattern. You can connect it to math, and they have to create a pattern. So if you have 2 or 3 action words, and they have to do them in a certain order and then repeat them in the same order, then you're integrating with math at the same time. Glennis?
You can also play with the idea of slow motion. That do it regular speed, but then you have to do it again, and slow motion, or as if it's freezing as it goes or whatever, to make them slow it down so that they're taking more space and time. So yeah.
Joanna.
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to tell them that one of those movements or 2 of those movements have to be in extra slow motion. And it's really nice that I saw Mel's, like her settle was far slower than my settle. So it was nice to see like how other people use the words as well.
Yeah, and somebody said before, there's no wrong answer. You meant about what your dance was about, but there isn't a wrong answer with these movements as well. That's one of the things that's so nice, is however you choose to express it is right, and that's your way. The other thing you'll find is they like to make sound effects, because it just sort of lends itself to that. As they're moving around, they like to make noise, and that's fine. And so you ask them, yes, you can do it once with your sound effects. And dance is an art form that communicates without sound. So we're going to do it again, but without our sound. So I think it's fun to allow them to make their sound effects, but then at some point you take them away. Yeah.
When you're choosing your cards, you sometimes do it randomly. Do you sometimes, when you choose with purpose, how do you usually choose?
Well, I actually let them. The whole idea is that they explore all the different cards, which gives them all the different ways the body can move. And then they get to pick. So let's say we're doing a unit in social studies, and I want to work on bullying, let's say, right? And so we've written these words on our word wall, and we've brainstormed them from, comparing a bully to a victim. And then we look at those words and say, well, what actions are going to depict this action from the bully, or this feeling from the victim? And then they choose the words, and then they're putting it together. themselves. So the beginning part is just exposing them to the words and then having them displayed. And then whatever you're creating, then they're picking. So if you're doing the water cycle in science, for example, they're going to choose which words am I going to use to express evaporation, condensation, and they have to rationalize that, right, to you. It has to make sense, so that way you understand that they demonstrate that they understand the scientific principles by making those correct choices, but they're also working within your dance curriculum by using these words and using the elements of dance as well. So that's one of the ways where they actually show their learning, is when they're choosing words and then you stop them and say, well, why did you choose that? And they'll say, well, atoms move really quickly, so I had to use an action that vibrates, right?
So there's a lot of conferencing involved then as well, which is something I'm sure you've all heard that buzzword lately, that conferencing with our students is like one-on-one, and allowing them more than just one opportunity to demonstrate their learning.
Right.
Is really important.
Yeah, and they collaborate. So if you really don't understand the idea of a circuit, right, but your peer does, as you're creating this dance to express a circuit, they really help each other. The weaknesses and the strengths, they come together and they help each other, because what one person knows in one area, they're strong in, somebody else is strong in something else. And as they work together, they figure that out. And so solving a problem in dance that's connected to curriculum really gets them collaborating. Absolutely. So let's try. Let's stick with language for now, because it's easiest to do on Zoom. That's the bottom line. So I use this book. I've used it with primary, junior, and intermediate. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called Sometimes I Feel Like a Fox. Sometimes I Feel Like a Fox. The author is Danielle Daniel. Okay. She is an Aboriginal writer, Canadian. And she dedicates the book to thousands of Métis and Aboriginal children who grew up never knowing their totem animal. So what she does is, I'll show you the back page. Each page is a different totem animal, and it's a small, sorry, here it is. So each page is one of these animals, and then there's a little poem that goes with it. But it describes personality. It describes feelings. So we're going to play with the porcupine. Okay. So I'm going to read you the lines of the porcupine. Now, unfortunately, again, because of Zoom, I can't have the cards all displayed for you. But you have played with a number of them in different categories. So I want you to try to pick from what we've played with, but also have the freedom to pick whatever you choose, because you are experienced movers. But when you're working with your students, they will have explored all the words, and then they'll make choices and explain to you why they've made those choices. So here's your porcupine. And the little poem is, sometimes I feel like a porcupine, innocent and curious. I have a big imagination and know how to protect myself. I'm going to read that again, because what I'd like you to do is create a movement sequence that will express parts or all of this porcupine. Okay? Sometimes I feel like a porcupine, innocent and curious. I have a big imagination and know how to protect myself. All right, so let's use the structure that we used before. Because you're individual, if you were in a group, I would have something completely different, but we're stuck this way, so that's okay. So you're going to have a starting position. And what I would like you to do at the end of this is to find a way to back away from the camera at the end. Okay? Find a way to back away from being close to your camera. All right? So you're going to start in a position anywhere in the space. You're going to explore innocent, curious, big imagination, and protecting. When you're done, you can finish by backing away from the camera and find your whatever final pose you choose. Okay? I'm going to see if I can find some drumming for you.
If you're trying to lose belly fat, stop doing cardio. This sounds backwards, right? Well,
There. Just to play with while you're exploring your poem. Now you've played with a bunch of ideas. I want you to put them together and come up with your movement sequence that is going to express this, what you've chosen. So I think you probably did some stuff and threw some stuff away and decide what you're going to keep. I'll keep the music going and see if you can choose your beginning and your end and put it together as a sequence for the poem.
Deb, can you read it out again?
I can't hear you. What do you think? Laura, did you ask me something?
Yes. Could you please read it out again, the description that you just...
The poem?
Yes.
Sometimes I feel like a porcupine, innocent and curious. I have a big imagination and know how to protect myself. Okay, let's see these. Are you ready? I want to see all these porcupines. So show me your starting position. Excellent. Okay, off we go. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Those are beautiful. So we've worked in two ways. We've worked starting with words and then picking how we want to move to communicate those words. And we also, with a poem. And then we also started with just 4 different creative action words and saw how that can communicate an idea or a story. Talk to me about what that felt like to make those choices. Maybe one particular word that you had more trouble with, or one that you found easier. What did you have to do to make those choices, Jocelyn?
I thought it was fun, maybe even though it was kind of obvious, but just to play with the word porcupine and like just imagining kind of all the quills and playing with the way that they move. That was fun for me.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
I was going to say it was hard to like contrast innocent and curious with protecting myself, because I knew how porcupines protect. And so that was like hard to contrast, because I was in this like trying to be innocent and curious, and all of a sudden I had to be like vicious, you know, so.
Kind of pictured it like a linear actual story. Like first I was innocent and curious, and then I really have this really big imagination, and then something happened that I had to protect myself.
Oh, interesting.
I kind of felt like it was like a gradual beginning, middle, and end.
It's interesting because everybody has a different thought process. Leslie, what were we going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say that it was helpful to know what the animal was. Definitely. Like, I mean, I stuck with the words, but yeah, I agree with Jocelyn. Knowing what the animal was, I think, I don't know, helped give you a character kind of.
Okay. Yep. It can do that for sure. Yeah. Jocelyn?
It was fun too when you had said, I want you to move away from the camera. I think I was playing a little bit with that the first time when you said creep, I was playing along with my hands at the beginning and like the looking around. I was trying to like do different things like, oh, you know, and playing around digitally, because we're virtual, and a lot of the times our classes are being done online. So how do you use this platform or this space, that kind of two-dimensional, how can you use your little box in a different way? And I liked that kind of going away from the camera and coming close to it was interesting as well. That the different space than your typical on a stage, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, you gotta use what you're given, what you're working with. What was I going to say? So when you explain how you made those choices and came up with your solutions to this task, it really shows you, like, I never thought to think like Joanna did, that there could be an A, a B, and a C, right? But sometimes for kids in reading or comprehending material, it's really good for them to see how other peers understand or solve the problem, and it gives them other strategies. So again, you're not just working with dance. Dance has become this vehicle to help kids navigate their way through academics. At the same time, you're doing these wonderful, beautiful dances that are really working with the elements of dance. And as we know in the curriculum, we're being asked all the time to use dance as a language in the elementary curriculum. That is the beginning sentence of a lot of the specific expectations. Use dance as a language to express blah, blah, blah. And so that's what this does. It gives you that language to play with. I find too that there's a number, I mean, I use language today for us because, like I said, it's so much easier to do. You don't need other material. You can just hear my words and be able to express it. But if you're doing something like math, when you're working with kids, like just in primary grades, when they're learning that to look at 2 rows of 3 means 6, or 5 is two in a row and then 1 in the middle. That's called subitizing, where they can recognize the pattern of the number, and it helps them organize numbers so that they can get to adding and subtracting. So you can use a dice, and you can roll the dice, and if a 1 comes up, then you're going to be doing creep. But if a 2 comes up, then you're going to be doing fall, and so on. And so you're matching, you're doing math at the same time that you're doing dance. Then you can have them added together. So if you've got a 1 and a 2, what does that give you? Well, that's going to give you 3, which is plunge, right? So you can work that way with the cards as well, integrating into your math curriculum. You can work with probability, again, with dice. How many times is something going to come up? And you could match a movement sequence. So if 1 comes up, your sequence is expand, creep, settle, look. But if 2 comes up, then it's hover, fly, float, crumple, right? So you can work with it that way. What's another math idea? Oh, when you're doing geometry, right? You're creating these symmetrical and asymmetrical shapes. You could even do stationary shapes and then have them do the slides or the flips, right? Or translations when you're getting into geometry. Or you can have them reverse or use a grid on the floor. I mean, there's so many things you can do with mathematics and dance when you're integrating. And in science, we talked about the water cycle. We talked about the states of, or well, we didn't talk about the states of matter, but you can definitely work with the states of matter. And they're using their dance vocabulary in order to express their learning that way. So with the Action Pak, yes, there's the cards, but we also put together these books. So there's 3 of them. One is just a dance resource that is dance ideas. So games like share a word. So everybody in the class gets a card, and you start with this one, and you're going to be playing with this one while the music is playing. And then when the music stops, you switch and you get a different word. This becomes my next, right? So it's a way of playing and exploring with all the different words. That particular lesson we call share a word, but there's a whole bunch of them in the book that is just dance related and focusing on the elements. And then there's another book that has integration. So some of the ideas that I talked about with integrating dance is all in there, from mental health to social studies to art. And then the last book is one on assessment, how to assess dance, from rubrics to checklists to pulling out what is space at a junior level. What do we work on in space at an intermediate level? Even there's a whole list of report card comments. But I want to show you, Laura's got a photo. I didn't show the other videos. I will show them in a minute. But first, could we show the photo first, Laura? The first one I want you to, this is an integrated lesson for grade 7s with visual art and dance. So the first image you'll see is just the piece of art they were working with. Okay, so take a look at this piece of art. We can't see it yet. Is it coming up?
Can you share your screen instead of?
Laura has it. She's sharing.
We both uploaded into the chat, so you should just be able to click to
open.
open.
In the chat. Okay.
Okay.
But if not, I can share my screen. That's no problem.
Okay, I opened them. No problem.
So the top one I can't do it.
It should be the second one that I sent, the most recent. That is the artwork. Should be a photo, I believe, of a flower.
Can you see it? Okay, as long as you can see it, I'm happy with that. So you can just see this image of the flower, and there's a bud there, and there's some dew, raindrops. Okay, everybody see that? Then once they have that piece of art, the group gets together, and then the next image you'll see is their written work. I have it on my phone. So what they have to pull out from that image So I want you to take a look on the side. Hold on. I can't seem to open it on the computer, so I'm going to find it on my phone. There it is. So the elements of the photo are the elements of art, visual art. And then they list what they see underneath it. And then you see the dance elements and action words that they have attributed to each item in the piece of art. So the dandelion, they looked at the words grow, open, expand. The bud, they looked at the words shrivel, close, pause, and so on. And so they chose the words that related to that piece of art. And then they worked as a group of 4 to come up with a dance using those words that would express that piece of art. And they also kept in mind the elements of visual art with the focal point and all that kind of idea so that they could integrate the two together. I have a video, but it was too long and I couldn't show it because it wouldn't load and I couldn't send it. If I can figure that out, I will try to send it to you because Melanie has your emails. But it is really cool to see the choices they made and how they came up with a dance that would depict that piece of art. So that's the system that we work with. First, we learn what is the vocabulary? What are we working with? Then we start linking it together in movement sequences. And then we create compositions by putting sequences together. And then we can start integrating with other curricula so that they're showing their knowledge, they're explaining how they understand it, they're using dance as differentiated instruction to be a different way of expressing what they've learned. I think that's all I wanted to share with you. But if you have questions or comments or anything that you want to share, maybe things that you've tried, or maybe ways that you can see that it would fit with what you're doing.
It's so nice to see that, like, I have some students who love to try dance and they're not, you know, they don't believe that they're dancers. And I obviously say, like, that's okay, that's great that you're here. And they're writers or they're creative people. And it's so nice to see that they can use their strength using language and using that to create. And you're right, like when we've all moved virtually, it's next to impossible to do like follow the leader, right? We don't like, yeah, that's one skill, but the other skill of creating and, you know, even being the person in charge of choreographing, it's nice that you can look at it in a different way. Some kids just go, I don't know what to do. How do I do this? Well, let's look at the words that you want to express. And then even working with several of these words, you can then go off into a whole different realm. I mean, I can't imagine how many words you have that are pictured there. Love to see them all.
I know.
But
I'm trying to work on a digital.
Yeah, but even having the kids make up the words too, right? Coming from them and they realize, oh, you know what, choreography isn't just about the steps.
Exactly.
It's expressing the words, even if it's not an expressive word, like the fact that they're like a dandelion, right? Okay, what does a dandelion do? That's going deeper, which is great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And maybe if you can't think of what's going on in a porcupine's brain or what a dandelion does, you've got all of those words in front of you where you can, you know, you can think dandelion, 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 and then you can grab the words that you know, sway or flow or blow or something, right? And you could find those words you
So
know,
true.
or if the students create them, or if it's from Deb's resource. Yeah, I mean, I know that when we did teacher, when I've taken this workshop before, some kind of cheating, but when we told the story, it was easier because sometimes you just don't know how to get started. And then once you have those keywords, it's a lot easier to get started. I also just had a quick question. As your French teacher, Deb, are the cards bilingual?
They are. That's what. Yes, they're in French. The books and the cards are all in French. Yes, they're available in French. Yeah.
It was nice. I was gonna say it was nice to have a bit of a refresher because I bought the pack from you a few years back, and I use them in my class, but it was kind of nice to just come back because I think when I bought them, I was still a very, very new dance teacher, and I've kind of made my own little games and stuff with them, but I love using exercises like this with my dancers, and how you said, Joanna, too, especially those who aren't dancers, who come, who love to move, who love to dance, and then they often get intimidated by the dancers in class because they're like, well, I can't do that many pirouettes, or I'm not flexible, I can't do what they do. But I love watching those kids when we do activities like this because they are so free and they really think about the action, where I
Yeah.
find that my actual dancers
They're not as-
struggle more sometimes because they're
Yeah.
trying to do the dance move that they know, or they're trying to put the move into the action, and to kind of shake that out. And I always say, let's laugh and have fun. Like the other day we were rolling around on the floor, and one of my girls that was a little bit shy was like, Madam, you're really teaching us how to roll around the floor. What if somebody comes in? I was like, so they come in and they start laughing and they say, what are you guys doing? You know, let's just have fun, because we were pretending we had no bones in our body and we were just kind of being free. And, you know, and I love doing that type of creative work with them, because that's really what dance at school is about, right?
Yeah,
It's not about,
And yeah, the
Their
reverse
technique or-
works too. The you know, having them tell a story. And sometimes I'll even tell my dancers, you're not allowed to use tricks or technique. I don't want to see any tricks. So you're going to use these cards and you're just going to show me human movements.
Yeah.
Or you're going to just show me human words, human actions. And then it kind of forces them out of their you know, their training
zone.
Right? Their
Yeah.
training zone. And then they've got to get out of that and try.
Don't you feel they like perform it so much more too when they're connected to the story like that? Like
They're not concentrating on what's next.
No, and I feel like they really get into it, and they just, like, you see it in their movement, the quality of movement, right? They are being the story, and they just perform so much better, and they're so proud of their work. It's like they have something to say. I think that's what it is, right? They have something to say, they have a story to share, and it's awesome to watch.
Well, maybe Laura, we could show those videos now of the other ones. So these are two girls that are junior age. I think maybe grade 4 and grade 5, and they're working also with some of the words. I just think it might be interesting to watch kids doing it too and see what they come up with. So maybe we'll just show the first one. It's about 4 minutes long, I think. Yeah.
Oh, hang on, just have to reload it.
Now we're going to explore actions that contract. And girls, actions that contract means we get smaller. So the first word is close. Can you close quickly?
Yes.
Can you close slowly?
Yes.
So when you're going to start with shapes, do you want to have bigger shapes so that you can close? Now, do you necessarily have to close down? Can you close in?
Yes.
Right? Can you close your whole body? Can you close part of your body? Absolutely. Hey, because you're standing up, let's start at high level. Make a shape. And begin to close. Close slowly. And hold that shape when you're done. Pace. Okay, take the same shape. Turn it up. Now we're going to close quickly. Ready? Go. Awesome. Quick. Melody, let's have you do low level shape. And Odette, let's have you do medium level shape. Create that shape. Hold it. And from there, you're going to close slowly. Go. Close. Excellent. Go back to the shape you just had. Close quickly. Wonderful. Good job. Now let's go to this word. Duck. Smooth or sharp? Sharp, absolutely. And when you're ducking, what are you trying to avoid?
Like something that's coming above your head.
Exactly. So when you duck, it's quick, it's sudden, it's sharper, and you want to get away, like avoid something that's above you. Absolutely. Let's start in medium level and your low level there. Make a shape. Ready? Duck. Excellent. Let's do, let's have you do medium level and you do high level. Make a shape. Hold it. And duck. Great. And now pick a level you would like. Make a shape. Try something different. Try to get your body into a different shape there. And duck. Excellent. Now let's look at this word.
Shrink.
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 So when something shrinks, it gets
Small.
smaller. Does it have to go down? No, but can it?
Yes.
Absolutely. If something shrinks, does it necessarily change shape? Or does it just get smaller?
It just gets smaller.
Okay. Well, let's start at high level for this one. Okay, make a different shape at high level. And shrink. There you go. Excellent. Now do medium level shape for me. Okay. And shrink. Okay. Can you make a shape on your shoulders for me? Bouncing on the shoulders. Not on top there, but on the back of your shoulders. Make a shape balancing on that. Okay. Now from there, shrink. Go. Shrink. Awesome. Great job. Let's look at this one. It's hard to see on here. It's called crumple. Think of when you've got a piece of paper and you have it on your hand like this, and then you go like this. It crumples, doesn't it?
Yes.
Is crumple smooth or sharp?
Sharp.
It is sharp. Does it get all like jaggedy in shape?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's start at low level here. Make a shape. Okay. So I want to see this sharp, jaggedy movement as you crumple. Ready? And crumple. Awesome. Awesome. Let's try it at medium level. Make a shape. And crumple. Cool. And now, high level shape. Make a different high level shape, different from any of the ones you've just made. Think of how you could hold your head. Where are your arms? How are your legs? And I have a question for you before I have you crumple. Do you have to crumple down?
No.
Can you crumple in?
Yes.
Could you crumple up? Okay, so think about that this time. Hold your shape, ready? Crumple. Awesome. Good job. And we have one last word here. I love this word. Shrivel. Think of a grape. It's plump and juicy, isn't it? When a grape shrivels, what does it become? A raisin. When something gets all shrivelly and wrinkly, how does it do that? How does it get all shrivelly and wrinkly?
It shrinks.
Yeah. Does it lose its water?
Yes.
Its moisture? And it becomes all like, yes. So start at high level, make a cool shape. Try and think something that you haven't done yet. Okay. And begin. Does something shrivel quickly or slowly?
Slowly.
Yes. Right. And begin to shrivel. Go. Shrivel. Wrinky. Lumpy. Yes. Go twisty. Awesome. Try ultimate bow. Ultimate bow shape. Okay. Ultimate bow. And begin to shrivel. 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 Awesome. And pick up your own level right now. Think of a different body base to balance on, other than your feet. Think of something totally different. Yep. Hand and feet. And begin to shrivel. Go. Shrivel. Shrivel. That was wonderful.
Okay, that's good, Laura. Thanks. All right, so I just think it's good to see how kids make the choices and also listening to how Susan is directing, right, what they're doing. When they're younger, you want to ask a sort of direct questions, but when they're older, they'll come up with more ideas on their own without that prompting. Any questions about that or comments about that? Jocelyn?
I really liked at the end when she said pick a different base to start on, not just your feet. I think that even in high school, dancers, even before a dance starts, they all just kind of stand there sometimes, or it's like pick something interesting or different. And I think I'm definitely going to steal that from her. Pick something other than your feet to start on as your base. It's such an easy thing, and then it makes them think, oh, okay, I can't start my feet, and it's going to totally change the beginning of a number or a movement. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, good.
And the fact that those young children already had that in their vocabulary, she didn't have to explain it. I mean, she had to say, besides your feet, but they knew what a base was. So
Yeah.
it's not like the concept is too beyond.
No, it's in the curriculum. I think it starts in grade 4 where they start working with different body bases. Yeah, in the dance curriculum.
And I like how simple it is too. I think it was a video that was shared. I forget if it was Laurel or Melanie. It was a TED Talk with Wayne McGregor, I want to say his name was, and he talks about how everyone is like a master of their own body. We know how our body moves. If you want to grab a coffee cup, you reach your hand out to grab the coffee cup. So we're all experts in body movement. We just never think about it. So kind of like that prompt, and having them think in different ways is just, it's really interesting and encouraging, especially to our non-dancers. And I have a lot at my school. I would say close to half are non-dancers at my school, and just getting ways to make them feel comfortable and that they're capable of really making beautiful decisions and beautiful movements is awesome.
Yeah, good point. Anyone else? Well, I hope that's good food for thought. And it is a great way to level the playing field with your dancers and non-dancers. Everybody's at the same place. We all have this body that we're working with. It doesn't have to be trained in anything specific. And we can create together, and that's the goal. So thank you. Thanks for joining me and playing along and dancing along. Your dances were beautiful. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank
Thank
everyone
you.
for joining us. I just wanted to add one last thing about sorry, I know Deb's already kind of thanked us and dismissed us, but it's good for teachers too, because we don't all move the same way. And maybe some of us have no training or limited training as children and young people, and or we have an injury, or we're getting a little bit older and we can't move the way that we used to, or we never did do those fancy tricks that some of our students can do. And I think this opens us up to be able to demonstrate in a really safe, risk-free way with the students, and to be that example for them, and to just show them that anyone can do this.
It's a good point. When I work with my students at Brock, most of them are not dancers, but they have to take this course in their second year of education. They have to take this course in order to graduate. And they're nervous the very first day because they think I'm going to teach them pirouettes and so on. And what they realize is that they don't have to do the dancing. They're prompting their students to dance. They're offering them a vocabulary to play with. But I didn't do any of the dancing, you guys did. So you don't have to demonstrate. As a matter of fact, sometimes when you demonstrate, they just want to copy you. So it's best not to. So you hold up the card or cards, or you give them a sequence to do, and they choose what they're doing. It's not about what I've come up with. It's about what you've come up with and your peers together. Yeah.
If I was going to do that, I think I would choose 4 completely different cards and give them, if I was going to demonstrate, and then they can't copy you, because then you tell them that they have to choose 4 different ones.
Yeah.
And that way it's original. Yeah, I think I have done that actually with your cards.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. Okay. Thanks for joining me in an evening. Oh my gosh, everybody's so busy. I really appreciate it.